I'm going to be showing you which pets I think are best for PvP depending on what spec you're playing, and I'm going to be giving an explanation for each pet, because I see a lot of hunters using some pretty unusual pets that just don't make sense to me. Let's start off by talking about which pets I use for BM. First up is the Spirit Beast. This is the pet that I use for when I'm playing double DPS and 2s because it has an ability called Spirit Mend, which is a 30-second cooldown heal. I can use it on myself or on my partner. You also get an ability called Spirit Shock, which is an offensive dispel on a 10-second cooldown. This is really useful against teams with a Pally or a Priest on them. Also, because it's a tenacity pet, you get access to Survival of the Fittest, which is a 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds, and you get Endurance Training, which is a 5% increase to your health. Outside of double DPS 2s, the only places I would use the Spirit Beast would be for BGs, open world PvP, and solo PvE content, and maybe a little bit in 3s just because it has that dispel. Next up for BM, it's going to be the Raptor. This is going to be the pet that you're going to use for 3s or if you're playing with a healer in 2s, and the main reason for that is because of the Mortal Strike effect from Savage Rend. Considering the two best Conster Hunter right now are Jungle Cleave and Cupid Cleave, it's really important for you to have this pet for the Mortal Strike effect. As a cunning pet, the Raptor gives you access to Master's Call, which is a 4-second long freedom on a 45-second cooldown that you can use on yourself or on your teammates. Master's Call is especially useful when playing against a balanced druid because you can keep your healer from sending a full root beam. You also get pathfinding with a cunning pet, which is an 8% increase to your movement speed. If you don't want to use a raptor, you can use a hyena or a rodent pet, as they both have Mortal Strike and give you Master's Call. You can also get Mortal Strike effects from birds, scorpions, and river beasts, but none of these are cunning pets, so you're going to lose out on that freedom. Now that's not to say that these pets don't have their place in Arena. Take the bird and the scorpion pet for example. If you're playing against a comp where you don't think the freedom is going to be necessary, then I would play with one of those two pets because they offer you Primal Rage, which is Bloodlust, and they both give the Mortal Strike effect. If you're playing a comp like KFC where you don't have to bring the Mortal Strike effect, then I would recommend using a pet with a slow, like the Silithid, because that pet also has a passive 30% increase to its own movement speed, and it's part of the Cunning family. Or I would go for a pet that has a dispel like the Sporebat, which is also part of the Cunning family. You could also use the Spirit Beast here because of the dispel and the extra heal, but I would recommend staying with a pet that offers Master's Call. For the most part, you're probably going to be using the Raptor or something similar to it just because of the Mortal Strike and the freedom that you get from them. But that doesn't mean you can't change your pet based on what comp you're playing or what comp you're playing against. You just have to figure out which pet brings the most benefits for whatever comp you're playing and what you're playing against. You have to be sure though, because once an arena match starts, you can no longer use Dismiss Pet, so you're stuck using that pet for the duration of the match. As far as survival goes, it's pretty much exactly the same, with the exception of being able to use exotic pets. Having Mortal Strike and Freedom together is super strong, and the only time I would switch to a different pet is if I'm playing with a class that already brings Mortal Strike, like an Arms Warrior. If you're playing Jungle Cleave, I would say 100% you should be using a pet that has Mortal Strike and Freedom on it. If you're playing Cupid Cleave, I would say the same thing, but you might be able to get away with it because the Ret Pally has a freedom, but in my opinion, the extra freedom isn't worth giving up. If you play Marksman, I would say don't use a pet because you gain 10% increase to your damage from Lone Wolf, meaning having a pet out isn't beneficial. Also, Marksman Hunter isn't very good in Arena at the moment, so I would stick to BGs and PvE content for this spec. As long as I'm talking about pets, I thought I'd bring up two really important PvP talents that I think you should definitely take, which are associated with your pet. The first one's for Beastmaster only, and it's called Wild Protector. With Wild Protector, your pet reduces the damage taken by 10% for any party member within 8 yards. That's a super useful talent that you should take always. The next one is usable for both Beastmaster and Survival, and it's called Roar of Sacrifice. Roar of Sacrifice instructs your pet to protect a friendly target from critical strikes, making any attack against them unable to be a crit, but your pet takes 20% of the total damage taken by that target, and the effect lasts for 12 seconds. I should mention that your pet doesn't reduce any of the damage the target takes, it only makes them immune to being crit. These two PvP talents are a definite must if you're doing any type of arena. Hopefully you took something away from this guide to hunter pets in PvP. If I didn't cover something or you have a question about something, comment down below and let me know what it is. I would be more than happy to answer it. Also, keep in mind, these are just my opinions for which pets I think are the best for PvP. So if you do something different, let me know why and I'd be more than happy to try it out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. See ya!